First off, I want to say thank you for coming here. My name is Dennis O'Leary. I'm a parent. I'm a teacher. I'm a school board member in the Oxnard Elementary School District, and I'm also the state chair for the League of United Latin American Citizens. And in several aspects, these titles intermesh quite a bit. And recently, after much work, myself and LULAC have been making partnerships with other organizations, and several that are represented at the table here, and I congratulate you and I thank you for coming together on this issue. The reason I wanted to speak was because quite often myself through LULAC and also through the school district that I'm on the board, we're fighting battles, and we look around, and partners quite often are difficult to find, even though the causes are the same. Quite often, getting organizations at a table like this and in a coalition are difficult to communicate with. I'd like to point out 3 cases. One that we did win, Palazano versus the State Board of Education, $815 million that was awarded from federal funds to school districts that had English minorities that previously would not be given those funds. Today, there is one lawsuit still standing on No Child Left Behind. I think people have kind of forgotten about it, but this is Coachella Valley et al. Versus State Board of Education. And the reason why this one lawsuit is still out there and it still has a court date is because a coalition of 10 school districts, including the Oxnard School District, a coalition of the CABE, California Association for Bilingual Education, and LULAC have come together and said that No Child Left Behind allows a student to take the standardized test in their native language until they're English fluent. Only the state of California says that that test must be only in English. And so when we're comparing test scores from Texas, Florida, New York, most other states, and they say, why isn't California doing quite as well? Because their students are taking the test in a language they understand. And that case is still pending in courts today. It will be heard hopefully sometime next year. And I would invite the different organizations possibly to look at that suit to see if they might want to sign on as a friend of the plaintiffs in this. Lastly, date providing, or the date for provider program. This is the District Assessment Intervention Team. Came down last March, and as part of No Child Left Behind from the State Board of Education, California, saying that private companies can come in and review why a school district is not performing to standard. In itself, there wasn't a problem with that. The problem that the Oxnard School District, and only the Oxnard School District, out of 44 school districts that were named in the first list, complained about, in fact, we finally came to heads in Sacramento about a month ago, was because these date providers, private companies, had the right to override and veto any government action from any locally elected school board. So you have private industry overriding government governance. We won. We went to the state after months of threats, and basically, in fact, I have to say this, the head of the CDE told us that the Oxnard School District rope-a-doped long enough that we won. And I love that reference, and her 3 attorneys went into convulsions when they heard that. But so the bottom line is, may I ask that congratulations in bringing this coalition or partnership, I'm not sure how you would like to categorize it, together, but may I ask that we could possibly share some of these legal processes that LULAC, and I'm sure the other organizations are going through as well, and see how we can help each other, because there's strength in numbers. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you for the Campaign for High School Equity, what we've already begun to do is when these kinds of issues come up, whether they are legal in nature or not, but when issues come up from our individual partner organizations, that particular partner brings it to the campaign, and we have an opportunity to look at the situation, learn as much as we can, and decide how we're going to act. As a matter of fact, there is something that we're looking at right now that was brought to us by our LULAC representative. So, short answer to your question is yes.
Good afternoon. I'm Janice Conforti. I'm a board member up at Newman Crow's Landing. I want to ask something. Historically, 100 years ago, we had basically the same problem. We had people coming from Europe. They were French, German, Italian, didn't speak our language, but the community that they lived in, either the Irish, the German, worked together. We're having a really hard time in school right now because teachers are not the problem so much. Because they do work, they have a short period of time, 5 hours a day. They go back into their community, and their community is either so busy trying to keep up with the economy that they can't spend the time with their child, that they have trouble with the language because even the parents aren't even trying to learn the language. And try going to take a driver's test in 47 different languages. We can now go to any place and ask for a driver's test in whatever language we want, but all our signs are mostly in English. We need to learn where we're living. I mean, when we went over to France and people were living there, you had to go, unless you went to an American school, you had to learn the customs and the language of the country. And we should embrace our customs of whatever nationality we are, but we have to make something solid. We can't keep splintering it up. This is what's happening. And we're losing our children that way. If we spend more time with them, and you have to be one-on-one, and teachers do it all the time. And I get really upset when you start saying, we have to train teachers better. We have to train parents also, well before they get into school.
Anyone like to comment?
Let me address the myth that immigrant parents don't want to learn English.
No, I didn't say they didn't want to.
I'm not addressing you personally, but
Okay.
but the prevailing wind about immigrant parents not learning English. Well, there's many factors for that. I think we could all agree that to survive and thrive in a English-dominated country, world, you must, and everybody knows that. But there's practical barriers to that. Feeding the family, putting food on the table, and so forth. Mm-hmm. So we know, if we get past the cultural fights in terms of why ain't they becoming more American, quote unquote, right? We can really focus on the issues of resource and English acquisition. I am a big believer, a proponent, an advocate, speaking on behalf of LULAC and other organizations, for more resources going towards parent education. Absolutely. 100%. Maldiv has a great model built up, the parent-school partnership, where it's like a one-on-one class. They know that the biggest advocate, the biggest champion for any student is their parents, right? Mm-hmm. And so, at least from the communities I work with, Latino communities and so forth, all of them, I could tell you.
It takes a community.
Parents want to learn English, and the kids want to learn English. No one wants to be put aside in a corner or in the back of the bungalow room where they're the ESL kids. No one wants that. And so what I'm pleading is we have to get past the perception or the stereotypes that parents don't want to learn English or they're not helping their kids learn English. Believe me, these parents, if you provide classes, provide the right personnel to work with them, talk to them, they'll come in droves. That's been my experience.